want to start an intentional community, the odds are against you. But there are hundreds of established intentional communities out there that show us that it is possible. Hi, my name is Sky Blue, and I am the Executive Director of the Fellowship for Intentional Community. I'm here to explore the question, what makes an intentional community successful? You might have noticed that I said explore the question rather than answer the question, because this is a tricky question to answer. Every group is different with its own unique set of people and circumstances, so what works well for one group might not work for another. But decades of experience from thousands of intentional communities have certainly taught us a few things. Whether you're part of a single collective household in an urban setting or a large rural land trust, an eco-village, a co-housing community, a housing co-op, or a commune, there are some things that just about every group needs to think about. Let me start off with 4 guidelines. First off, don't underestimate the task. Creating something that will have a life of its own and that will outlive any of the people who start it is a monumental undertaking, requiring a broad and multifaceted approach. Second, do it with a group. The vision for the community should come from a group. I recommend a minimum of 5. If you can reconcile your vision of community with at least 4 other people, then there's a better chance that it will be appealing to more. Third, some amount of personal growth is unavoidable. We've all got our issues, and living more closely with others will absolutely bring them out. This isn't a bad thing, but it requires a willingness to do some work. Awareness, self-reflection, the ability to hear feedback, being responsible for the impacts of our behavior, and good-natured flexibility are particularly important skills in cooperative groups. Fourth, don't underestimate the value of trainings. Intentional communities encompass all aspects of life, so there's a lot to learn. It takes interpersonal skills, management skills, trade skills, and more. Don't hesitate to seek out the expertise you need from others. Okay, getting into the details, there are a bunch of things you need to think about, but I'm going to start by breaking it down into 3 big areas: purpose, relationships, and money. Groups often codify their purpose into vision or mission statements. Identifying a list of core values and defining them can also be helpful. But the basic question is, why does your group exist? Your purpose can be anything. What's important is that the whole group is clear about what it is. Clarity of purpose provides a framework that can make tough decisions easier and can guide you through disagreements and conflicts. It helps attract new members that are a good fit, and a sense of shared purpose helps motivate people. It helps them feel connected to others and invested in the well-being of the community. There's a lot that falls into the realm of relationships, things like communication, governance, conflict resolution, and social culture. How do you want to relate to each other? How will you work things out? Community is about relationships. It's the relationships that make community fulfilling and meaningful. But if you don't tend them, when conflicts arise, which they will, they can tear a community apart. Tending them means making sure agreements are clear, that there is good communication and accountability. It means making sure that conflicts are addressed and not allowed to fester, making space for the group to discuss and address chronic issues and dynamics. It means supporting each other, being there for each other during hard times. And it means having fun together, celebrating, and creating culture. It is virtually impossible to exist in the world today without at least some amount of money. Most of us don't have enough of it and have a lot of baggage around it, and money stress will create or exacerbate other issues, especially interpersonal conflicts. In many respects, intentional communities are the same as small businesses, and from a financial management perspective, should be approached the same way. Have a plan, create a budget. However you feel about money, it's something your group has to deal with. So face it, together, with strength, thoughtfulness, and maturity. Deal with your issues around it and manage your collective finances in a transparent and cooperative manner. Okay, let's drill down into more detail. Intentional communities can be broken down into various systems and structures. With all of these, there are lots of viable models. The important thing is for your group to be on the same page about what kind of community you're trying to create. Then find the systems and structures that will be most supportive of your collective vision. The other important thing to remember about systems and structures is that they only work to the extent that there is a positive feedback loop with the culture of the group. For example, the best decision-making process in the world won't work if there isn't a culture of goodwill. Figure out how to build your culture and structures so that they work together and that all of it together reflects your group's values and supports your group in fulfilling its purpose. With that said, let me give you some basics on legal and financial, governance, management, and decision making, membership process, labor system, and conflict resolution. On the legal side of things, how are you dealing with ownership of land, housing, and any other assets or resources? What kinds of legal entity are you going to use, which is something usually filed with your state corporation commission? And what tax status are you going to have, which you register with the IRS? But also, what kind of zoning laws, building codes, or other laws apply to the kind of community you want to create, and what government agencies or departments are you going to need to interact with? On the financial side, the first question will be, how are you financing the creation of your community? This looks very different depending on the location, size, and kind of community you're trying to create, as well as what kinds of financial resources, if any, your group is starting with. In some cases, traditional lenders are viable. Being a nonprofit or cooperative might open up other financing options. If you want to incorporate a business into your community, you might be able to orient your financing around a business loan. From there, you'll need to figure out how the finances of your community are organized on an ongoing basis. The basic question is, what expenses does the community have, and how are they being covered? Legal and financial are big, complicated issues, and finding friendly lawyers and accountants who believe in what you're doing can be super valuable. Governance has to do with the basics around who makes decisions and how decisions are made. From a typical organizational development perspective, this is often codified in bylaws, an operating agreement, or some other foundational document. It defines who the members of the group are and who has ultimate decision-making authority. In most cases, this will either consist of the entire membership or a subgroup of the membership, for example, a board of directors, which is usually selected by the membership. Whichever it is, they then set the overall direction for the organization, create policy, provide oversight, and do financial planning. Management has to do with the implementation and administration of policy and direction. Even if the entire membership makes these decisions together, individual members may then have different roles in carrying that out. Often a group will delegate certain day-to-day decision-making to managers, teams, or committees. Decision-making refers to the mechanism by which decisions are made, like voting or consensus. Some groups make all decisions by consensus or unanimous agreement. Some use a modified consensus, like consensus -1. Some use voting, sometimes requiring a supermajority, at least for certain kinds of decisions, or may use voting as a fallback if they reach an impasse using consensus. There are a wide range of different models for governance, management, and decision-making. The thing to remember is that how or whether your governance, management, and decision-making system works is up to you. If something isn't working, it's up to your group to figure out what will work. The process by which someone becomes a member is a cornerstone of any intentional community. There are several important things here. The process should be clear and transparent. It should reflect the culture and values of the group to help new people get a clear sense of the group right from the start. The group's purpose, as well as any expectations, commitments, rights, and responsibilities of membership should be made clear. And the finances of the community and the financial arrangement members will have with the community should also be made clear. Pretty much every intentional community shares some amount of land, utilities, driveways, and/or facilities. Even if it's minimal or much of the work of maintaining it is contracted out, there's going to be some level of administration or management required from the members. And usually there's at least some minimum expectation that members participate in the governance system of the community. Whatever time and energy input is required for members should be made clear, and some kind of system should be created that makes sure that what needs doing gets done, and that everyone feels like the distribution of labor is fair. Conflict is inevitable. We all carry baggage that affects group dynamics. Conflict isn't necessarily a problem in itself, it's how your group deals with conflict. Conflicts can be acute and obvious. They can also be chronic and complex and hard to clearly identify. There are a number of things that support good conflict resolution. A strong social culture where people are engaged and enjoy each other. A culture of caring and mutual support where people look out for each other physically and emotionally. Clear community agreements that are routinely evaluated. clear accountability processes, processes that illuminate and address tensions before they blow up, clear protocols for addressing conflict when it arises, and fundamentally, a willingness in the group to address conflict rather than avoid it or feed it. Whether it's your legal structure, labor system, membership process, or whatever, again, how exactly you do all of these things is up to you and can look a lot of different ways. Take the time to learn different models and adopt or adapt what's right for your group. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you found this video useful. Please check out our other videos, and for a more detailed look at featured communities, check out our web series, Planet Community. You can also browse the 1,500 plus online listings for intentional communities worldwide in our communities directory. Also, please check out our quarterly publication, Communities Magazine, available digitally by donation. And sign up for our bi-weekly e-news for updates from the movement, events, and specials from